p.m. here in Belém, Brazil.
Right, fantastic. Early on, we were just breaking down what these conversations were, and I'll actually start off with that. We mostly have multi-level conversations at different COPs. You have, and Juliet was talking about, you have think tanks talking with world leaders. You have high-level stakeholders there. But where does the voice of the common mwananchi come into play in this conference of parties?
First of all, thank you so much, TV47, for having me, and thank you for this opportunity. And just to delve into your questions, that as you understand that at COP, it's parties who negotiate, or countries. We call them parties because the convention that was signed in 1992 in Brazil, here in Rio, that is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, was signed by countries who agreed to be parties to the convention. So we call them parties. And a common mwananchi is represented by their party or their country. So for instance, in Kenya, a Kenyan is represented by the government of Kenya in this climate change negotiations here in Belém. Though there's a perception that CSOs and other non-state actors are the ones who represent communities, they just lobby and advocate. But the people who carries the voice of Kenyan community is the government of Kenya.
All right. So Mr. Nyongesa, so that would mean that prior to these conversations happening in different conference of parties, the local government, and not only even in Kenya, but even in different countries, gather the voices of the people so that when they come to have these deliberations, they are speaking from a point of knowledge of this is what the people on ground are saying.
Yes, before the government or the ministry tasks, in this case, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, is tasked to come to COP. There's normally the consultative process that takes place. And we have in Kenya, from the Climate Change Act of 2016 that was amended, now Climate Change Act of 2023, mandates a body called the Climate Change Directorate, led by the director, to be the ones coordinating issues of climate change. And you have to remember that, yes, the Ministry of Environment coordinates, but other ministries or state departments also contribute. Like, for instance, the Ministry of Agriculture is the one that provides the technical people who negotiate for agriculture. The State Department or the Treasury is the one that provides the people who negotiate for climate finance for Kenya. The Ministry of Water provides people who negotiate. The State Department of Water provides for, we have a Ministry of Water, sorry. The Ministry of Water provides the technical experts who negotiate for water. The work of the Ministry of Environment under the Climate Change Directorate is to coordinate. But before they come to COPs, there's normally called the pre-COP meetings that the government normally holds. Right. Each is normally 2 weeks or a month before coming to COP. And here they invite all these technical people, even the CSOs are welcome. They normally attend some of these meetings just to come and say, last COP, this is what we wanted and we didn't achieve, or we achieved, but we are not so happy with the outcome. How can we strategize this time so that we can have? So the Kenyan position is represented, is discussed at this level so that it can be included in the Kenya position paper. But you have to understand that Kenya is also party to a negotiating bloc called African Group of Negotiators. Yes. That forms the 54 African countries and states that are coming together under the AU and form the AGN. Yes. Who normally meet before any COP. They normally meet on, I think it's Wednesdays, to strategize and bring together all the 54 country position papers. Yes. And then they formulate one position paper to present as a bloc. Yes. Again, there's another layer called G77 plus China. Yes, yes. And this is a negotiation bloc constituency that represents 134 countries. And this is one of the largest negotiation blocs that consists majorly of countries that are developing countries. Okay. Including China. China per GDP is considered a developing country. Thank you.
All right. Something that I'd asked Juliet, when it comes to the significance of COP30, a number of climate experts have alluded to COP30 being particularly significant because conversations are now shifting from planning to implementation. Will you agree, and what are your thoughts about how significant COP30 is?
Actually, and that's a very good question, my brother. And people thought negotiations will go on forever. Actually, when we agreed on the convention in 1992, then the Kyoto Protocol came in 1997, and people did not agree so much. And then the Paris Agreement set in 2015. The purpose of the negotiations beyond the Kyoto Protocol period and the Paris Agreement is to ensure that any contentious issues or articles that were not were seen to be not so agreeable to all the countries will meet together, discuss, and then when we agree, now we have a clean document or methodologies and or registries or whatever thing that is going to enable us to start implementing the aspirations of the Convention and the Paris Agreement. Remember, the objective of the Paris Agreement is clearly better. So, coming to COP30, most of the negotiations or key contentious articles were already agreed upon. Like, for instance, just to give you an example, we celebrated in COP28 in Dubai when the first decision was the loss and damage fund when it was agreed upon. Now it's referred to funding for responding to loss and damage. But in last year in Baku, at COP29 in Azerbaijan, the decision on Article 6 was also agreed upon. So you find that some of the key contentious issues that were dragging and making the implementation of climate actions to move forward have not already been agreed. The only remaining major things under this COP that we are really pushing for it to be agreed upon is the global goal on adaptation, that is the GGA as we're referring it, and this is significant to Africa and even Kenya because there are some indicators that were developed by scientists and experts to try and track. If you mention that you are adapting to climate change, how do we measure it? Which indicator do we use? So at COP30, this is something that we're really looking forward to achieve. But unfortunately, it seems like we are not going to have a wide smoke because Africa Group of Negotiators is calling for that we defer this matter to COP32 that will be held in Ethiopia. That is in 2027.
All right. And Juliet,